Broadcasting from the News Radio 102.9 KARN Radio Center in Studio 1B. It is Gwatney Unplugged with Scott Romine.
Hope you're having a great Saturday. I'll tell you what, the show has come full circle. One of my first childhood crushes here on the show today. You may know her from The Last Starfighter, Night of the Comet, Nighthawks, Days of Our Lives. Welcome to the show, Catherine Mary Stewart. How are you, Miss Stewart?
I'm doing great. That's so sweet that you had a crush on me.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I got to admit, Catherine Brock was on the show about a year ago, and then we had Rebecca Holden, who was on Knight Rider with you, and now we get you on the show. So it's just come full circle.
Wow, that's so cool. Yes, Knight Rider was one of the very first shows I did in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, you know, my friends would be so jealous. You rode in Kit. You rode in Knight Rider.
I know. I couldn't believe it. I was a big fan of that show, and I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, it was so thrilling to just be a part of the whole thing and get in there and get to see how the whole car worked and everything. Pretty fun.
Were there more than one car, or do you remember?
I just remember one car, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had more than just one car.
Probably so. Yeah. I mean, Hasselhoff, pretty nice guy.
If I hadn't had a boyfriend at the time, because I actually think he even asked me out. Don't tell anybody. I was like, oh, I've got a boyfriend. So
oh, wow.
Can't do that. But he was so cute and he was so nice. Just one of the nicest people you ever want to meet.
Well, he was Michael Knight. So this time of year, right? I want to ask you, what's some of your favorite Christmas memories?
Christmas. Well, you know, I grew up in Canada.
Right.
Pretty far north in Edmonton, Alberta. So Christmas, you know, winter in general basically lasts like 9 months. So
you lived in the North Pole.
Oh, Lordy, I did. Yeah. You know, Santa and I are tight.
Obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, well, when I was little, one of the most fun things for us as kids was Mom and Dad would sleep in a little bit, but they let us get up and open one gift first thing in the morning. And that was just so exciting. Plus, Santa, you know, my good friend Santa.
Of course.
He left, we didn't have our stockings hung over the fireplace. We had them, or maybe Santa moved them from the fireplace to the end of our bed so that when we woke up in the morning, we had our Christmas stockings full of things at the end of our bed. We didn't even have to get out of bed.
Isn't that
was great. It was so super cool. You know, the torturous part, which I'm ashamed to say I carry on this tradition with my kids, it makes me laugh in a way because it's just sort of what I do. It was sort of the routine is that you got to open one gift, but then we'd all sit down for a big breakfast and everything. And music would be playing. And then we'd have to clean up before we got to open the rest of our gifts.
This is torture.
Torture. And I did the same with my kids. And I think I sort of did it subconsciously. I'm like, oh, I'm starving. We've got to eat before we, you know. And they're like, you know that's torture, right?
Yeah, that would be tough. That would be tough.
I know. But you know what? A little patience is okay every once in a while.
That's true. What's the best thing you ever got for Christmas?
Oh gosh, what's the best thing I ever got? Oh my gosh, that's a really hard question. I think one year I got a bike, like a two-wheeler, which was huge, with like the tassels coming off of the handlebars.
You gotta have those.
You gotta have those. I think that was like a big grown-up thing to happen to me. I mean, I don't know. How can you pick one Christmas present that's the best? There, you know, it's such a special, exciting time of year that for me, again, this is kind of torture, staring at all those boxes for such a long time, those wrapped gifts under the tree, and then just finally being able to open it all, that's to me the most special part. And then, of course, being with family and
oh, definitely.
all that stuff.
Watching Christmas movies and all that kind of good thing.
Yes, for sure.
So you grew up, your parents were teachers, and you initially were a dancer, right? Did you keep up with dancing once your movie stuff started taking off?
Well, it's funny because the very first movie I did, called The Apple, I was training as a dancer in London, and I happened to go to this audition to dance as a dancer. It was sort of like a cattle call dance audition. And that's where they sort of plucked me from the huge group of dancers. And they said, do you act? And I'm like, sure.
Of course you do.
Of course I do. I'm not going to say no. Anyway, I ended up auditioning for the lead role and getting it. But yes, I was a very serious dancer. I started when I was about 7 in ballet, which didn't last. It lasted a couple of years. The discipline of ballet at 7.
I can't imagine.
It was tough for me, but my mother, who had great foresight, put me back in dance when I was about 14, but this time it was jazz dance. And I kind of hesitated. I thought, this is going to be like ballet all over again. No, I got into my first class, and it was like this awakening. All of a sudden I had sort of discovered what it is I really wanted to do. So, and then I joined a company, and we performed all over Canada, and in fact traveled for the Canadian UN peacekeeping forces at Christmas time one year. And it was kind of a sign that this performing thing was what I needed to do, because just being on stage, it was the greatest thing. It was overwhelming almost.
So you didn't really have a problem with like stage fright or anything like that?
Not really. No, I loved it. And, in high school and whatnot, I was in theater and performed in lots of plays. And when I got my very first movie, I was sort of young and naive, but I just thought, well, this is fun. And I just tried to be a sponge and just pick up whatever it is I could as I went along. And I loved every second of it.
I'm a huge fan of action films and stuff from the 80s. And you appear in Nighthawks with Rutger Hauer. Yes. How did that come about, and what was he like? We've lost him not very long ago.
No, I know, which was so sad. So this was like the next, I did a little movie in Canada, and then I came back to London because I didn't think I was going to be an actress. I thought I'll go back to London and dance some more. But I did have an agent, so she was sending me out on things, and I auditioned for Nighthawks. Oh,
Nighthawks. Stallone.
I've had so many night movies. I know. I did the movie Night Flyers. Yeah. So Night Rider, Nighthawks.
That's right.
And I auditioned for Stallone, actually, which was also thrilling because this was after Rocky. And he was just, all the girls that were auditioning for him were like,
he's the real deal. Yeah.
Real deal. So it was just a regular audition, and I ended up with a role, this little role opposite Rutger Hauer. He scared the crap out of me.
Really? He was an intense guy. Did.
Well, also he stays in character. He's not one of these people that, jumps into character, and then as soon as they say cut, he's some, guy.
Wow.
He stayed in character, and it was perfect because that's exactly what he was supposed to do for me. It's just like, who is this person? And I just was like scared to death of him. I couldn't even talk to him because he scared me. He was so intimidating in that character. That was a pretty evil character he was playing.
And I guess that part was shot in England.
It was. So it was when I went back to London after my first movie to actually, honestly, to pursue dance. And I got that role. So
incredible. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back here with Catherine Mary Stewart.
You're listening to Gwatney Unplugged on News Radio 102.9 KARN with Scott Romine, brought to you by Gwatney Automotive Group.
We are talking with Catherine Mary Stewart. She's in so many cool movies. I got to ask you about, of course, I love The Last Starfighter. That's where I really came to know you. I saw that in the theaters. And it was kind of a Star Wars it like the first use of CGI. I mean, did you have any idea you were making something so innovative?
I had zero idea. In fact, I sort of realized how innovative it was when they screened like the 25th anniversary screening in Santa Monica in California. What they did was they had a whole a group of us up on stage after the screening for a Q&A, and most of the people, or a lot of them, were the technical people. And I heard these incredible stories for the first time 25 years after the fact. I had no idea what was going on behind the scenes. CGI was so brand new. This was they often compare The Last Starfighter with Tron.
Yes,
because there was some, CGI kind of stuff in that, but this was way more complex. They were creating programs that are the foundation of what CGI is today. I think it can really be considered the first movie to use CGI to the extent that they did.
Question. No question. There's a little bit in Wrath of Khan when they show the Genesis device, the planet. There's a little bit, but this was the first movie where a lot of it was CGI.
A lot of it. And they weren't sure if they were just going to use the classical sort of special effects or small models or what had been used before, or if they were going to try out the CGI thing. They weren't sure which way they were going to go for till like the last moment. The people who created these effects were on a really super tight schedule, but they managed to pull it out. I know it doesn't. It's not. It looks like it was the very first kind of CGI ever done. But
but it's cool.
But it's so cool, and it really truly set the foundation for what you see. I mean, today it's just crazy.
Kids are playing Minecraft. That looks like it's 1982, and that, it doesn't affect them.
Yeah, well, there you go. No, I had no idea, but I was sort of in shock that I had been involved with that kind of innovation.
I always wondered, was the game on the set an actual working video game?
I have to give away these industry secrets.
Because it didn't come out. I mean, it wasn't a game. I actually have an arcade in my house that has a version of that game on it. But I always wondered, did it exist when you made this movie?
No, it didn't. They sort of created it in, after the fact, I think. The director sort of gave Lance Guest directions of how to work it, but all that stuff was put in after the fact. They did create a game, but I'm not sure that it was actually released.
I don't think it was ever released.
Yeah, which is too bad.
Did you know, we're in Arkansas, so I got to ask you, did you know that Last Starfighter has an Arkansas connection?
I did not know that.
Yep.
Explain.
The actor Norman Snow, who played the bad guy, Zur, the guy with the scepter, is from Little Rock, and he is currently fighting stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And he's back here in Little Rock. But
oh my gosh.
I didn't know that until recently. We have an arcade, a vintage arcade in Little Rock that is incredible. And everyone there are huge Last Starfighter fans. They have a display with Last Starfighter stuff in. I mean, it would, if you ever make it to Arkansas, you got to go in this arcade because some of your biggest fans, I promise you, are hanging out there.
Oh, that is so cool. I've never been to Arkansas.
Well, you'll have to make it down this way at some point.
I would love to. Oh my gosh, but it's so sad to hear about Mr. Snow.
Yeah.
I mean, that he was Norman. So he was wonderful in the movie. I think.
He was great. He was great.
He was so creepy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He played it big time. And his sister here in town goes to this arcade. And
she does.
Yeah, so it's kind of a neat connection to the film. What's your memories of Robert Preston?
Well, we never actually had any scenes together. And in fact, we were never even on the set at the same time.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I shot mostly at night and he shot mostly in the day and then on the set, on the planet. So, which was a total drag for me because I'm a huge fan.
Sure.
And, but we were doing some reshoots after the fact at the studio, and he had just wrapped up some reshoots that he was doing, or they also I think they also added some stuff just to fill it out. And as he was leaving, I was arriving, and I think it was Nick Castle, the director, who introduced us. And I was just like starstruck, and he took my hand and he kissed it, and he said, "It's a pleasure to meet you." And I was like,
I think that was like the last movie he made.
It was the last movie he made. But, that role was written for him. I mean, based on, it's kind of the Music Man character.
Sure.
It was, written for him. So, it was just such an honor to meet him. It was the last movie he did, which is another honor on its own. We had an incredible cast, I feel like. Dano Hurley, who I had no idea who he was or what he looked like when we were shooting, because I never saw him out of the Grig makeup.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And I sort of had to do a little research, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Dano Hurley. And he's a very handsome man, or he was. I think he's passed away too now. But incredible cast, and just all the people in the trailer park, wonderful character actors. I'm so grateful for being a part of that show. That was the first movie I did in Los Angeles, and it was truly a magical experience. And I'm still very good friends with Alex Rogan, or otherwise
Lance.
In real life known as Lance Guest.
Oh, and you guys had the best chemistry.
Oh, thank you. And Nick Castle, and Craig Safan, who wrote the music for it. We're all, in fact, I was just talking to him. I think it's his birthday today. So I think we all had just a great, kismet, or whatever you want to call it. And I think it shows on film, and we've stayed in touch all these years, which I think is a statement in and of itself.
Well, I know it just come out on Blu-ray. I bought this latest version of it, and it's really done very well.
Oh, good.
I hear rumors of a sequel to this film.
Yes.
What do you think?
So far, Jonathan Betchell, who is the original writer, and Nick have both spoken about it publicly, that's what's going to happen. And it's also a public domain that the characters of Alex and Maggie will be in it, and played by us, I guess.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Lance, it better be.
Oh, yeah. You have to be in it.
Oh, I know.
If you're not in it, I'm out, They
gotta hurry up, though, because we're gonna have to be the grandmothers and grandfathers of the Last Starfighter. So that has been in, going on for a while. I guess there's this rule with the Writers Guild that after 30 years, whoever owns the property has to return it to the writer. So Jonathan finally is in possession of it again. And 12 years ago, Nick Castle was talking to Lance and I about the sequel and what the sequel was going to be, but they just couldn't get the rights to the property. So finally they do. So we'll see what happens. Maybe 2021 is the magic year. Because you see these remakes, they're just they just don't work. They don't have what the original movie had.
Nope.
So hopefully that's what they'll do.
Can you hang around for one more second?
Sure.
Okay, hang on one second. We'll be right back here on Gwatney Unplugged with Catherine Mary Stewart.
You're listening to Gwatney Unplugged on News Radio 102.9 KARN with Scott Romine. Brought to you by Gwatney Automotive Group.
Hope you're having a great Saturday. We're talking with Catherine Mary Stewart. She's an actress from all kind of movies. Last Starfighter and Days of Our Lives, Nighthawks, all kinds of fun stuff you've done. You know, I think it's funny that in 84, that was such a big year for you. You've got The Last Starfighter, what starts with playing an arcade game, and then you've got Night of the Comet, which starts with you playing an arcade game.
I know it, right?
It was kind of a big
Isn't that
thing.
Crazy?
Yeah. I caught that right off the bat. It's like, something very similar here.
Yes.
Basically, you were making The Walking Dead before The Walking Dead was a thing.
Hello. You know that character, the zombie that I fight in the alleyway?
Right, yeah.
They had on The Walking Dead, they had that character, same wardrobe and everything in it appear, apparently.
I didn't know that.
Oh, I thought that was really funny. And I thought, wouldn't that be great if I could be on The Walking Dead?
And there's a Maggie character.
Is there really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of the main characters is Maggie, and I've always thought that is based off Last Starfighter.
You go.
I've always thought that.
Aw.
So,
well, I don't know. You know, I actually didn't follow it very closely, but the series, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Did you learn to ride a motorcycle? We see you on a motorcycle.
I know. Well, I didn't actually. Do you know how heavy motorcycles are?
Oh, I've got 4 of them. Believe me, I know. I'm into it.
You are.
Oh,
I had
yeah.
a boyfriend a long time ago who had this motorcycle, and I tried to get on it by myself, and the whole thing just fell over, and I couldn't stop it because it weighed so much.
Right.
He was like, no. No, they had a stunt girl for that. And the shot where they had me on the motorcycle driving through town,
right,
through downtown Los Angeles, it was actually attached to a kind of a trailer,
sure,
like the flatbed behind a car.
That's how they did
behind
chips.
the camera car. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Well, there you go. So yeah, that was the one stunt that I didn't do. I did fight the zombie, which was really super fun for me.
Yeah. I wondered about that because you kind of get thrown around.
I know.
They're pretty rough on you.
I know. But he was a professional stunt guy and he knew what he was doing. So I trusted him completely. And I was just kind of into it anyway. Having that sort of dance background, I was pretty flexible and pretty strong. So I could look after myself.
What about shooting the MAC-10s and stuff? Had you had any experience shooting when this comes about?
I hadn't had any experience shooting a MAC-10, that's for sure.
I understand.
So we had to train. They take it very, very seriously because they're guns. They're, and we had to go and actually go to a shooting range and practice. Of course, it was filled with blanks, but even
sure,
that can be dangerous as well. You
sure,
have to know what you're doing. You have to know how to handle a gun. And so, yes, we were absolutely trained.
I love when your sister in the movie says, Dad would have got us Uzis.
I know.
I love that.
That was a classic, right?
I've got an Uzi because of those movies. I love all that stuff.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah.
I want to admit something to you. I always thought that if it had not been Linda Hamilton, you would have been an awesome Sarah Connor.
Aww.
I just always thought she could play that part.
I heard at one point that Linda Hamilton copied my hair for that.
I believe that.
We have exactly the same hair.
Yep.
I think it came out just after Night of the Comet, I believe.
It came out in 84, I believe October of 84.
There you go. So, yeah, hey, she was copying me.
Was it hard to film Night of the Comet? I mean, there's no one around. You've got to shoot all this Los Angeles with no one there. How do you do that?
Well, yeah, it had to be that way, didn't it? I mean,
everybody's dead but you guys.
Dust,
yeah, exactly.
Well, the incredible part about that is you could never shoot that nowadays because downtown Los Angeles is so populated with residents now.
Yeah, that's right.
And those days it was just banks and, there's a couple of hotels around, but it was not a place where there were lots and lots of people. So when we shot that, we had to make sure we shot it when nobody was around. And that was, I believe it was like first thing Christmas morning or something like that.
They got you working on Christmas.
Well, I feel like it was guerrilla filmmaking,
Yeah.
Just get in there and just do what you have to do. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked. And I think we all knew that, and we were all in it together. And it was quite an experience. But truly, the most amazing thing is the fact that nobody could ever accomplish that again because LA is so packed.
Well, they'd CGI out people. I mean,
I
it would be fake.
I guess. Yeah, this was not fake. In fact, there's a scene apparently, I think when I ride my motorcycle up to the empty Mercedes and look in and wonder what the heck's going on.
That's
apparently, we didn't have that big. It was a small movie. It was made for like less than $1 million.
700,000, I think.
Yeah. And so we didn't have people stopping traffic. That's what you used to have to do, right? Just stop traffic everywhere. And apparently, if you look really closely in the background, you see a car kind of pull out into an intersection, just barely pull out a little bit.
I'm going to look for that now.
Yeah, I tried to find it myself, and I'm not about. That's what I hear.
Are there any big roles that you tried out for that you didn't get that you think, oh, I wish I'd have got that, or things that we would know?
Well, the biggest one that stands out to me is Friends.
Oh my gosh.
That would have been good. That would have been a good one.
Would you have been like the Courtney Cox character?
It was actually the Jennifer Aniston character.
Really?
And she is, of course, I think their comment was, I wasn't funny enough or something.
Yeah, right.
Which is a bit of a drag, but the thing also about that was when I read the script, I thought it was perhaps the best series script I'd ever read. I thought the writing was so good. So that just kind of added to the disappointment. But everyone in LA in that age group were auditioning for that. So I always think, just think if I'd landed that role, how my life would have changed. Yeah,
that was like a 9-year run or something. I mean, it went a long time.
A long time. But they ended up with the perfect cast. I mean, I don't sit there and go, I could have done it better than Jennifer Aniston.
Hey, what do you say to somebody that wants to be an actress?
Oh, gosh, good luck. I say just be involved with acting on any level that you possibly can. If you're young and you're thinking that this is what you want to be a part of, absolutely join the theater club in your school. I would say join local theater, community theater, just get involved. And the thing about getting involved on this level is you end up networking. And no matter how small the theater is, if it's a community theater or whatever, there's usually somebody who has a connection outside of that theater. And it's like building, or putting together a puzzle, just putting the pieces together one by one and allowing this networking to guide you.
Scott Romine for Gwatney Unplugged. We'll be right back. We're talking with Catherine Mary Stewart, star of all kind of shows, especially a lot of 80s stuff you'd know. Last Starfighter, of course, Night of the Comet, and Nighthawks with Sylvester Stallone.
LA is still a center for the industry, but a lot of actors are moving out of LA. And there's so much audition that is done, a self-tape audition it's called, where you don't even have to go to a casting director's office anymore. You can be remote. You can do stuff remotely. That's cool. I think at some point it's, theater, I mean, certainly New York, there's no place better than to try to get into some of the big, huge theater, Broadway. Mm-hmm. But, I used to say, absolutely, if you want to be in film or television, you need to move to Los Angeles. And then you need to give it at least 2 years. I mean, some people will go for like a month or two and go, I couldn't get an agent or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. You really, again, you just have to stick with it. Be steadfast. I think eventually it's probably a good idea. I think it's still the center for television and film in Los Angeles. And there's some good theater there as well, by the way. And the weather is great.
Yes, it is. It's very nice.
I loved LA. I loved living in LA, especially being from Canada.
So tell us how people can keep up with you online. Are there websites and Facebooks and things like that?
Oh, there absolutely are. Everything is Catherine Mary Stewart. I have a website. I'm actually rebuilding it right now. It's catherinemarystewart.com. I'm on Facebook. I've got a public page that you can just like, and I keep everybody up to date on everything that I'm doing. It's Catherine Mary Stewart on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, which my whatever you call it, hook or whatever, is actually Catherine Mary Stewart. When I tried to get that, it was too long for Twitter. So I had to put CMS and then ALL. Or just, if you're on Twitter, you can put Catherine Mary Stewart and it'll hook you up.
We'll find you.
But that's my @ or my handle or whatever you call it. And I'm on Instagram, Catherine Mary Stewart. So that's, I would love to hear from you guys. I do live chats on Facebook. I'm thinking about maybe doing one, trying to get one in before Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
I'm also, those are really super fun. I do a thing called Cameo. It's on cameo.com, CAMEO, where you can order a video of me. You sort of go into it and you say, I really want a video from Kathy talking about, in fact, I just did one before I talked to you about The Last Starfighter. This gentleman is a big fan and has been for a long time, and his daughter was asking me to. Apparently, he shared it with his daughter. They watched The Last Starfighter together, and they're really big fans. She wanted me to talk about The Last Starfighter and wish him a Merry Christmas, and so that's something that I do as well. It's really fun. And it's a great gift, by the way, for people, I think.
What a way to connect with your fans. I mean, it's kind of a genius.
It's great. It's really fun.
Do you do a lot of the convention things and those sort of appearances when they're having them, obviously?
Yeah, right. They've been kind of closed out for the last year or so. It feels like forever.
I know. It feels like 5 years.
Oh, boy. We'll get through this. Yes, I do. I do probably, I don't know, I don't do them all the time. There are some people that just do them every week. I do probably 2 or 3 a year, which is fun, really super fun. I love meeting the fans, and a lot of them know more about me than I know about myself. Certainly they know more about the movies. So that's really gratifying.
You probably get a lot of 45-year-old guys like me, like, you're the first crush I ever had. It's so true. I mean, my gosh. I watched your Knight Rider episode last night. And
oh, you did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I loved that show as a kid. And there's
too.
You and Rebecca Holden. And it's like, this is just great, And Rebecca has been on the show here before. And sometimes I will just get a text from her out of the blue ever since then. Just she'll send me a video she's done or something. I was like, this is great. You grow up with these people, you look up to them, and to communicate with them, it just means a ton,
Oh, that's so neat. Yeah, she was awesome. I remember her being not only beautiful, but super sweet, just super duper sweet.
She's a Texan.
Yeah, I think I knew that at the time, even. Yeah, lovely, lovely woman.
This may sound crazy, but this is kind of how I kind of see a lot of the fandom thing that maybe the cast member doesn't ever grasp, but it's not always as much about, you are the character in that film, but it's also like, for me, my grandparents or, my great aunt or somebody, I watched that with them and they've passed away and you're the last person still, you were there. You don't know you were there, but the person on the screen was in the room. You were a part of those special memories, and that to me is kind of the neat part.
Yeah, it really, and as an actor, when sort of you're acknowledged in that way, I feel so grateful to have been a part of creating memories for people or
forever.
Influencing people in certain ways. The movies that I've done in general have a pretty positive impact on the audience,
definitely.
And that is the most important thing to me. I'm not interested in having a negative impact, it's kind of fun playing sort of not necessarily the greatest characters. It's fun to play mean people or whatever, but it's so gratifying to have a positive impact on people and then also, like in conventions, you'll see, the 45-year-old men and women that are so excited to meet you or whatever, which is so neat. And then they are introducing their children to the show as well. It just keeps going, moving forward, and it's very neat. I sort of hate this word humbling, but it's sort of humbling in a way, in kind of the largesse of it all.
Has anyone showed up with their kids and maybe their little girls dressed as Maggie?
No, I haven't had that. I have had Night of the Comet, The Apple, the very first movie I did, which was a crazy movie. It was this futuristic rock musical, and I had some pretty bizarre, and I was a rock and roller. I got to, perform as a rock and roller on stage, theoretically in the future, which at that time was it was supposedly taking place way into the future, 1994.
Before Y2K.
That's right. So I've had people come up to me in that costume, one of the costumes that I wore in that. No, not yet. Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed. In that
in the Knight Rider episode, there's the scene in the prison where the guy has all your photos on his cell wall, and that probably has happened in real life. But are those like your headshots from modeling, or were those done just for the show, or were they actually your pictures?
Oh, I think they were done for the show. I could, because I never modeled.
You didn't? So I would have thought you would have done a little bit of that here and there.
No, I really never got into the modeling thing.
Huh. Well, you certainly, you certainly could have. So they had to have just done it for the show. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us, and best of luck with all of your new endeavors that you're going into. And We want everybody to follow your Facebook and your Instagram and your Twitter, and we will post that on the Facebook page. So
absolutely, yeah. I've been working on script and possibly directing and all this other stuff, which has been perfect for this downtime. I've just been sitting at home writing, and it's been really, really fun. As it turns out, I really enjoy writing.
Oh, writing is a lot of fun. You know, the most valuable thing is a good idea.
I love that. I'm going to write that down.
I mean, if 50 years ago I'd said, "Hey, let's make a thing where a robot turns into a car," well, it would sound ridiculous, right? Until Michael Bay makes this big movie of it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there
absolutely.
You go. Great to talk to you. And
Great to talk to you,
hope you have you back on in the future. Scott Romine for Gwatney Unplugged. Go have a great Saturday.
Some gifts don't come wrapped in packages with bows and ribbons. They aren't hidden away, then torn into with reckless abandon. Some gifts are needs, like food or shelter, and those can be the most precious of all. In a year with fewer red kettles, help rescue Christmas for those facing poverty with a $25 monthly donation. Enlist in Love's Army at salvationarmyusa.org.